What's going on, everybody? Sean Power here at the Hilson Studio with my good friend
Chris Condon.
We're here today to check out the Pedal76, a new compressor pedal from Warm Audio, put it through some of its paces and hear how it sounds. Let's get into it. The Pedal76 accurately reproduces one of the fastest and most powerful studio compressors of all time, known for ultra-responsive dynamic control with rich analog tone. For over 10 years, Warm Audio has been building a premium 76-style studio compressor, the WA76. With expertise in building this circuit and knowing what drives the sought-after tone of the most coveted dynamic control, Warm Audio now delivers truly professional, full-featured compression for the pedal board. Added grit from the FET, the rich character of the transformer, and critical gig-ready controls make this pedal an ideal choice for recreating timeless studio sound for an onstage or studio use. Pedal76 recreates the legendary tone and control of the vintage 76 style compression used in studios by artists like Jack White, John Mayer, the Foo Fighters, Van Halen, Led Zeppelin, and many more. This all-analog transformer-balanced FET compressor pedal uses premium and custom components to achieve authentic 76-style FET compression. The custom Cinemag transformer is spec'd to duplicate the professional performance and tone of studio units in a pedalboard-friendly format. Premium capacitors, resistors, and transistors round out a circuit that cuts no corners in delivering an authentic studio experience on stage. Like studio compressors, Pedal76 has attack and release, ratio, and input controls, critical for taming unwanted changes in volume on stage. Attack and release govern when the compression acts. Ratio determines the strength of compression against the raw signal.
Input determines how much raw signal to feed into the compression circuit and sets the threshold.
And output acts as a makeup gain or master volume to make sure the Pedal76 plays nicely with your rig. Additional features include input sensitivity, switchable ground lift, a DI output pad, DI high and low gain modes with level boost on balanced output, external true or buffered bypass switch, vintage style amber VU meter for gain reduction indication, ultra low noise with 100% discrete analog signal path, and external power connection with 9-volt battery compartment. The external power connection leverages internal voltage increases via DC to DC voltage converter. The unit does not come with a 9-volt power supply, but it's compatible with all standard pedal power supplies. Let's hear how it sounds. Tell us the guitar that you're playing, kind of your setup, and maybe also how we have things sort of arranged with regards to the pedal.
So this is a Tele I built with some noiseless pickups, and it's going into the Warm ODD overdrive. And then that's going to my pedal board, but everything's bypassed, and then we're hitting this at the end. So it's distortion into the compressor. I like to run compressors first. The guitar seeing it to kind of tame it.
Sure.
And some artists do like compressors after drive, so it's all personal preference at that point.
Coming out of everything that's coming from you, we're running into a Bad Cat Hot Cat 30. It's feeding a Marshall 412 cab with a couple of WA14s on the two different kinds of speakers that are in it. Running into a WA273 with the EQ bypass, so you're just able to hear pretty much exactly what you're going to be getting out of it when you're trying the pedal yourself. Why don't we go ahead and just hear a little bit of the clean tone that we kind of have established here. So this is no overdrive pedals, no compression, nothing yet. You can hear it right away, especially with these settings that we have dialed in, right? This might be something that's a little bit more of a subtle, you know, noticing just if the needle's just barely moving, it means you're just barely doing anything. Yeah, I feel like it's bringing some weight. It's definitely leveling out the top end, the transients, kind of like the spank of like digging in, the attack of everything. But I feel like as it's bringing that down, there's room for the bottom, like the thickness, which is maybe not always super forward with a Tele. That's kind of coming up too, which I think is kind of
nice.
Yeah. So Warm Audio is kind enough to provide some jumping off points as far as some settings that might sound good for you. In this case, we're going to be having the ODD on, just doing some drive. Let's go ahead and hear that on its own real quick. Yeah, that's cool. Nice and gritty. We've got a ratio of closer to 12:1 is recommended. Faster side of things on the attack, faster as well on the release. We're gonna go full on maximum as far as the speed on the attack and the release settings go. The output, we're just going to dial in sort of to taste to make sure we're not getting too much or too little. And so go ahead and play a little bit and I'll try to level it out. Yeah, I mean, it sounds great. I do think it even tames a little bit of the top end, right? Because it's compressing the distorted, the already overdriven signal. So it's not simply doing dynamics control, but it's also going to be responding a little bit differently depending on the program material that's being fed to it, right? Let's hear something a little bit more in like a lead kind of area and see what kind of extra sustain we might be getting from compressing that overdriven signal.
Okay. Yeah, it gives me more sustain for sure. Yeah, it definitely holds the note.
Yeah, that's great for like the ability to add some sustain.
Yeah.
And I'm impressed that it isn't bringing up the noise floor like crazy either. It's still very usable. Let's check out some of these other settings that they provided here. We've got something that might be a little bit more in the neighborhood of funky, clean kind of compression. So we're gonna go skip the overdrive on the pedal board. We'll go more of like a 10-to-1 kind of ratio. So I'm gonna throw that up here just about at noon. We'll go about 3 o'clock on the attack, right? So not as maximum fast. Release about in the middle. And let's dial it into taste here. Yeah, so give me that kind of, that funky. Yeah. There's a nice level control, right? It's controlling the dynamics a little bit. You can dig in. If you're not perfectly digging in the same amount every time, it does kind of even it out. But I do like what the warmth in the body that it's allowing to kind of come in underneath it as well. Now we've also got a setting here that is more for our distorted rhythm. So we'll set like an 8-to-1. The attack will be about 12 o'clock. The sustain release is about the same. And we'll dial in the amount of compression it takes. So I guess give us a little bit of like a maybe kind of like a Nirvana style power chord thing. Let's hear a little palm muting, kind of crunchy thing there. That's also kind of adds even a little bit more of that spongy kind of thing, but it's tight And I mean, you could see even on the meter, right? Like when you're doing some of the bigger strums, you're getting a lot of compression, but it still sounds even. And then when you go back to the palm muting, it just stays nice and forward. So we've got something that's more like a studio sound rhythm, input ratio 4:1, about medium on everything else. It just evens it out. I mean, I don't know. I generally hate when it's like, oh, it just sounds finished, but it does sound more like, yeah, like this is kind of more done. It feels more treated when you're doing the clean strumming stuff. It does level things out nicely, and I think it adds a little bit of grit. I don't know. It's not gritty, but I don't know. It feels kind of that spongy, spanky, that kind of thing that it's doing on top as well. Care to mess around and try out anything that you feel like?
Let's see if we could squash it for like some that arpeggio type stuff. So get a fast attack, maybe slow release. Yeah, more balance.
No, that's with the input timed fully. So we're going to be driving the front end of it the most and
There's
getting
a little bit of, you get a color.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's cool.
We have to obviously balance it out, right? This is why we have an input and output separate so that we can kind of deal with like the makeup game for if we're doing 20 dB of reduction, we need to be able to boost the signal. I mean, I'd like it clean. I like it, really fast. I kind of like the slower settings as well. I feel like, the ratio, you're not going to destroy your signal, but it does let you maybe drive a little bit more without having such audible or obvious compression, which I think is a nice feature as well, which you really just don't get any version of this amount of flexibility on a lot of the compressor pedals. And the color that it seems to impart when it's engaged is also super cool. One of the other cool features of the Pedal76 is that you have a balanced output, which is transformed. So currently we have it set in the high drive mode, so you can hear a little bit more of the grit and color. You have the ability to switch between line level output and mic level output, which might work better for certain studio and also certain live environments. It's basically going to function like a pad. Why don't you go ahead and play it just so we can hear how it sounds. See, that's great, right? So you could bring this to a live gig. You could run directly out of that into the front of house, right? You have the option to switch between a mic level or a line level. You're going to be taking advantage of the preamp that's in the pedal itself. You're digging in pretty good, and it really is smoothing out the output. So I know that if I'm ever on stage live and I'm playing, I tend to dig in probably a little more than I need to. So it is nice to be able to actually vary both, again, the ratio, the attack, the release, and the amount of compression you're getting. Whereas normally I would not recommend someone stick a compressor pedal in between them and front of house because you're more likely to ruin, I think, your sound. But I think that this actually still sounds pretty clean as far as the signal that it's outputting. Let's switch over to the low drive mode just to see what the difference is there. And we're going to do some adjustments to make sure that the level is still kind of matching here. I'm here with Travis. He's going to be playing a little bit of bass guitar for us, and we can take the Pedal76 for a walk and see how it sounds. Maybe tell me a little bit about the instrument that you've got here.
This is just like actually a Fender Precision Bass Squire version. This is like a modded one. I've got like some different pickups to match like a vintage precision bass, American precision bass. Changed up some of the pots and just like some tuners and hardware things. But this is like one of my favorite, just really clean precision basses that I have.
The way we have it connected right now, so the bass is running directly into the pedal, and then the pedal is splitting out the direct signal through the balanced output that's going right to one of the channels of the WA273, and the other channel is feeding an Eden head that is driving a 115 cab in the other room with a WA47 FET on it. And that's going to be also running into the WA273 with all the EQ bypass, so you're just hearing everything flat. Let's go ahead and maybe just hear a little bit of some bass playing, just kind of without any effects happening, so we can just get an idea of what it sounds like on its own. Yeah, I think it's killer. I mean, playing with the input and the output to try to make sure that when it's bypassed and when it's, doing its thing, that we're not getting a level mismatch. Louder always seems to sound better when you're listening, but.
Yeah, I think the 1176 sound is always like my favorite because it's just like, it's not too much. It's just like, just a little warmth,
Sure,
So,
yeah.
that feels good.
Both the direct signal and the amp output, the one that's driving the amp, they're both being compressed. We do currently have it set in a high drive mode. So you're going to be getting a little bit more of the drive coming off of the transformer and the FET itself.
I really love the reduction meter, like right at the front. That's actually the gain reduction. That's super cool. You don't see that on things like this often.
And it is nice because it does give you like a sense of, how much am I doing? Am I getting a ton of compression or not enough? I think you can hear it too. But it's a nice way to sort of train your ear when you're like, okay, how much am I getting? Am I getting 4 dB? Look at it, like, no, you're getting 20.
Honestly, it feels like you have like a piece of outboard gear just kind of like at your feet potentially.
Yeah,
That's super cool.
Let's check out a little maybe like slap bass,
Okay.
See what we can do to kind of tame some of the transients there. It does feel like there's more sub-information kind of happening when it's bypassed, but that comes at the expense of like the dynamics being kind of all over the place, right?
I like when it's on, I could feel the one of the pops. Usually when you're slapping and popping, you could tell with the compressor when it's like evening them out. And I think it's with this one, it feels really subtle and it feels more natural. What happens is that without that compressor, it's like, you feeling the, it's a little loud, it's a little soft, it's not just as even as that.
I'd love to maybe see like a little bit of picking and see how it handles, driving on some kind of picked action and see what kind of relationship we get between the low end and the top end there. Yeah. So I was trying out some different things, trying to go all the way up on the input, see what kind of like grit we might get from driving the front end of it. Especially with, we're on the high gain setting, we're taking the balanced output. Any drive that you're hearing is coming from this thing just being squeezed and pushed.
Oh, wow.
Thanks so much for tuning in and checking out the Pedal 76 with us. Head on over to warmaudio.com if you have any more questions and want some more information.